What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I was just looking at some numbers for time crystals, and I got a little optimistic about the amount of DEC that time crystals could burn simply on their own, right? And again, this is all rough math. I'm gonna share it with you, so feel free to double check me and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But we're also going to be making a lot of very hopefully somewhat conservative, but maybe for some people wild assumptions, and kind of go through with this. So we're looking at, there's about 4,600, a little bit more than 4,600 occupied plots. And the reason that I'm focusing only on those, again, from a conservative standpoint, is because those are incentivized to get that 100% boost or a 2x boost on SPS mining from day one. And day one, we know the rewards are going to be really good in terms of whoever's getting their plots online first. So granted, it probably won't just be occupied plots going for it, but if we just take a look at occupied plots, and the other reason too I want to take a look at occupied plots is because they have the largest clearing amount needed, right? So people would need to spend a decent amount. So let's I'm going to bring up this Google calculator here. Sorry, it's not as clean as when I use it on my other computer, but it's going to cost 9 million production to clear out an occupied plot. And that's an occupied common plot. I'm just going to assume occupied common because that's the most common that we have. Obviously, higher rarities will increase it slightly. But again, we're just using very basic, very conservative numbers here. So let's go with the assumption that you got an occupied plot, 9 million production. Let's also assume that the plot had a building in a box come with it. And so therefore you can remove 150 time crystals or 1.5 million, right? So 150, oh, come on. Are you really not working? Minus 1500. I would really love some commas in here. But okay, so now we're at 7.5 million. And I know the first thing you're going to say is, well, if people got building in a box for all their other ones, they can use that on their plot as well, right? And you're absolutely right. But we're just go with me for a minute on this. So 7.5 million production still required. Now we're going to divide that by 10,000 production. That is 10,000 per time crystal, right? So you would need an additional 750 time crystals overall. Now, each of these time crystals costs 100 DEC. So in order for that plot to, if let's say the only time crystal they had was 150, in order for them to continue moving forward, they would need to spend another 75,000 DEC. All right. Now we multiply this by the amount of total plots there are from an occupied perspective, 4,600. And I think it's even higher than that. Okay, so this gets us to a ridiculous number here, 345 million DEC that would be burned simply due to time crystals. Now, I think, like I said, I wanted to be conservative. So let's say that people use time crystals from some of their other plots, right? As well as maybe not all of the occupied plots are going to be started off on day one. What would be conservative? Can we say like 25%? Can we reduce this by 4, divided by 4? That's still 86 million DEC. I mean, we're close to 100 million DEC here just from looking at like a 25% utilization for occupied plots. And that's not counting the fact that some of these, occupied plots are going to be higher rarity and therefore will require slightly more. That's not, considering a lot of the other factors in terms of other plots necessarily not having, non-occupied plots going ahead and mining for SPS as well, and therefore people clearing those up, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, I think we can easily burn 100 million DEC. And here's the thing. Here's the best part about this. Let's say we don't. Let's say I'm completely wrong. There's a very slow uptick for land because when you think about it, it's just like, are you really going to spend $75 per plot on DEC when it's at peg, right, in order to go in and clear your occupied plot? Maybe some people will, right? 75,000 DEC, roughly $75. Maybe some people will, but probably not all. So all of a sudden, if we have a slower uptick on land overall, then the SPS being paid out per plot that is mining for SPS goes up higher, right? There's less people dipping their hands into the pool. So again, there's it's way too dynamic for me to come up with anything, concrete here. But in just viewing a small subset of plots, like 1,000 of the plots out there, right, which happen to be occupied plots, those going for, SPS right on the off the bat on day one, even if it's just a fourth of them or a fourth of the utilization of those occupied plots, if people go for it, I mean, that's 100 million DEC right there. It's not a small amount, or 86 million, right? But here's the other thing. Keep in mind, if people go all in, balls to the wall on SPS, and with their occupied plots or with other things, and they're not as focused on grain, keep in mind that grain is going to be expensive, and people will need to burn in order to burn DEC for grain in order to feed their workers and actually get that SPS out. So it's going to be what I'm going to dub like a beautiful and fun mess when land goes live. It's something that I'm really looking forward to. And obviously this 100 million, potential, 86 million, whatever you want to call it, just for time crystals, is once again just looking at the occupied plots. It's not looking at anything else. It's just looking at a small subset. But even 100 million is just a small piece of where we need to go. If people will also be putting max monsters on, each of these plots will require 50,000 DEC staked on them, right? So there's going to be a massive DEC utilization on day one. Now, does that get us to the point where we get back up to peg, where we burn a significant amount, or at least have, I guess, enough utilization to make DEC feel scarce? I don't know, right? And I've actually been somewhat bearish on this. Bearish probably isn't even the right word. I'm cautiously optimistic, right? Very, very cautiously optimistic. I do think that land can help to solve the DEC problem, but there's still 3.5 billion DEC. I'm sorry, 4.5 billion DEC, not including the DAO. And if you also include, I guess if you take out the what the team has, what's in liquidity pools, what's in bridges, there's still almost 3 billion DEC out there, right? Maybe you can say 2.5 billion. So that would require a decent utilization of land, but the more we burn with things like time crystals, with things like grain, that starts to get really interesting, right? So I am super excited for the launch of land, because I want to see how this, beautiful, fun mess unfolds, and I'll be in there with my 3 plots participating and trying to maximize whatever returns I can get. But yeah, just curious to get your thoughts on this, what you think of the numbers overall. Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.